Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Telespazio Xpress Talks, a 15 to 20 minute talk with leading figures from the new space sector, where we will talk about technology and sustainability. Welcome and enjoy the Telespazio Xpress Talks.
Welcome everyone to the Telespazio Xpress Talks, our podcast on technology and sustainability in new space. Today we have the pleasure to have Ferran Tejada with us, General Manager Space at Archimia and Board of Directors at BeetleSat. Hi Ferran, how are you doing?
I'm good, Andres. Nice meeting you and being here today with you.
We are very happy to have you because you have a lot of interesting topics to discuss today. And as usual, I wanted to start our conversation by asking you about who is Ferran? Where do you come from? And where did your interest in space begin?
Well, although I've been working in the space industry over the last 14 years, roughly, I have to say that I have a quite diverse experience. I started my days working in the footwear industry. So I used to work for a footwear manufacturing company, leading the manufacturing process in 5 production plants in China, actually. Then I moved to consulting services. I was consulting Spanish companies doing business in Brazil, tech and industrial companies. Then I moved to the green energies or renewable energies. I was doing carbon emission reduction projects in Brazil in power generation plants. And finally, I had the chance to join Archimia back in 2010. Back then, we were around 20 people in the company. Today, we are more than 400 people working there in different divisions. We are suppliers of parts and systems for satellites and spacecraft in general. And we are the largest shareholder to BeetleSat, which is the constellation we are discussing today. And I am also board of directors of BeetleSat.
Very interesting. Particularly, there's one topic you mentioned about your previous career that I will inquire you about. Seems very relevant for the topic in regards to BeetleSat. But before we jump into those specifics, I wanted to know, and I was very curious about BeetleSat itself. So what's new with BeetleSat? Because there are many other satellite operators at the moment in low Earth orbit. What is the value proposition of BeetleSat?
Okay, so first of all, BeetleSat is a telecommunications constellation. We are targeting both broadband and narrowband telecommunications. So we have a main payload, which is K-band for let's say general telecom services. Our customers are geo operators or MNOs, and also MEO operators that are willing to add LEO capacity to their infrastructure. And then we also have a secondary payload or hosted payload, which is IoT. And since our constellation also has intersatellite links, so all the satellites are connected through, in this case, they are not optical links, they are RF links based on our unique expandable antennas. So we can provide also IoT in real time compared to other IoT projects. In our case, BeetleSat can transfer data using the ISL, so we can deliver IoT in real time. So what makes us different? Well, you said that there are lots of projects around the LEO constellation, so it's kind of a hot topic today. I think we are different, first of all, because we are, let's say, quite optimized in terms of the size, weight, and power of our satellites. Also, the number of satellites we are launching is much lower than other, say, mega constellations. We believe LEO capacity is a complement to GEO, to MEO, and to terrestrial infrastructure. So we don't believe in a model where LEO capacity takes over the entire capacity needs of the different customers. So we prefer to team up with other operators, satcom operators, or MNOs, to add this LEO layer to their infrastructure. So that makes us different. So all in all, we have a constellation which is global and with intersatellite links connecting all the satellites. Those, to me, those are the two main features a LEO constellation should, let's say, tick. So we fulfill those two features, and I would say we have the lowest investment you can have to reach this type of product, this type of constellation. So let's say that we are kind of building the minimum valuable product for this type of broadband LEO constellations. Okay.
Well, there's a lot of content in what you said, and really, really interesting. So I will break it down in several other questions. So actually, regarding your career experience or your early career experience working in China and the mass manufacturing in the footwear industry, this is something that actually not many people have experience with in space, because so far we haven't been produced to such a large scale. So actually, how are you bringing this experience advising, BeetleSat coming from this very massive industry, footwear applied into space?
That's a very good question, and certainly it adds values to our work here with BeetleSat. I have to say that when working in China or for Chinese companies or with Chinese companies, we used to produce millions of units per year, so a bit far from what we need to do with BeetleSat. BeetleSat is in total 264 satellites, so we are far from what I used to do back then. But definitely bringing on board people with different experiences out of the space sector is something that adds a lot of value to this new, let's say, time where space is kind of opening to new models. So we are hiring people from the automotive industry, from the industrial companies, even from those big food chains like Mercadona in Spain is a very famous food chain, like supermarket chain. We bring this type of people here to add, let's say, their views in terms of how to optimize for our different processes and procedures for mass manufacturing. So this is helpful 100%. So yeah, my experience with footwear is quite long time ago, but still, from what I remember from that time, I'm trying to add some value too. Yeah.
This is actually very refreshing to hear, because there's not many space companies that are bringing many completely radically different profiles into the projects that they're working on, and bringing people from so many different industries probably creates a diversity in a way of thinking and preparing for the future problems or challenges that you will face ahead, that will make you stronger in comparison with other companies.
Well, I have to say that on the one hand, it is something that we definitely have to do, because as you guys know, the space industry is kind of booming right now. So it's really difficult to find and hire skilled people around. So you are really competing with companies all over the world for the same resources. So we really need to add people to be able to fill up our teams. But on the other hand, those are views that are definitely very, very useful. They are bringing a different approach to the typical problems or to new problems. So this is something really, really useful. I have to say, in our case, Archimia started in 2005 as a parts supplier for space applications. So we used to provide or to be suppliers of integrated circuits and mechanical parts for satellites. Then, by means of organic and anorganic growth, we've been moving up in the value chain to system integrator. Now we provide different types of systems and equipment for satellites. And then we decided to move to small sat integrator. So to do so, we really needed to add lots of capabilities from different companies that we have acquired in Spain, in Israel, in California, and also to, as I said, to hire people from very different backgrounds that are in this value to the company. Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to focus as well on some of the previous comments you made about the nature of the BeetleSat constellation, because It seems to me that the approach from BeetleSat is to try and cover the existing gaps as opposed to deploy yet another constellation that will provide global coverage all over the place, and therefore launching so many satellites. And in a way, I find the approach refreshing in the sense that it tends to be more sustainable. So why the decision behind that? And can you develop this a bit further?
Yeah, well, first of all, I believe, or we believe, there's a type of infrastructure for each type of service or use case. So there are use cases where you cannot really compete with geo capacity. There will be cases where you really need to go to terrestrial infrastructure or to MEO. And then there are cases where LEO really adds value. So in terms of low latency, global coverage, how to complement geo infrastructure. LEO makes sense as this, let's say, extra layer rather than replacing that capacity. So that's where we see we can be different from other constellations. On the other hand, as you said, we are trying to be sustainable. So, I mean, launching hardware to space probably is not within the definition of what is being sustainable today. There's a lot of controversy, especially in terms of space debris and so on, and how these huge constellations are, let's say, occupying different orbits and so on. In our case, since we are trying to complement other existing infrastructures, we are, let's say, more sustainable in terms of how many satellites we are launching, the size of those satellites. We're talking about 200 kilogram satellites roughly. So in this sense, we are a bit more sustainable than other constellations. And on the other hand, companies launch space infrastructure to provide services on Earth. And some of those services really help build up a more sustainable world. So that's also what is behind BeetleSat. Okay.
And I'm thinking as well, in terms of business viability, maybe getting a bit more technical on the business domain, because your space infrastructure is relatively smaller, or actually not relatively, significantly smaller than other constellations. Yes. Probably you need to raise less money in order to make it happen, in order to provide that end service.
That's right. Well, we are launching 1 terabit per second total capacity within those 264 satellites. This is a fraction of the capacity other constellations are launching. But as I said, we believe in a model where we team up with GEOs, with MEOs, with terrestrial infrastructure. So we believe 1 terabit per second is a good, let's say, starting point to add up to the other networks. Okay. This also leads, well, or to build up this capacity, we are relying on smaller satellites, because instead of using optical links, we are relying on our unique or technology of expandable antennas that we've developed in-house. This was kind of the seed that made us decide to build up this constellation. There's this company we've invested in, based in Israel. They were founded in 2015, and they developed this expandable antenna. So during launch, the antenna goes stowed in the satellite, and when in orbit, the antenna deploys. So you can save a lot of space, a lot of volume in the launch, during the launch, and this makes you save a lot of money at the end of the day, right? So we are having this, to me, critical feature for a LEO constellation, which is the intersatellite link. Instead of using optical links, which leads you to bigger satellites, more power-hungry satellites, this leads you to a smaller satellite, but yet being all of them connected through the ISL. So yeah, all in all, our investment is a fraction of the total investment from the constellations. Yeah.
And you're also being strategic about what to do, what not to do, which partners to use, which new models to use as well with partners. And this is potentially a new trend that we're seeing in the market at the moment as well.
That's right. That's right. Being smaller than the others allows you to be, let's say, more, you can better choose what you want to do. Let's say we don't need to fulfill a lot of capacity to kind of pay back our investment. Also, we have to take into account that LEO constellations in general, their business models are based on 5-year exploration. So at the end of the day, you have to make it feasible or viable within 5 years' time. So being smaller than others allows us to focus on high-end markets. So we are targeting, for example, government services. We are building up secure point-to-point networks or point-to-point links using only space infrastructure, so with no terrestrial infrastructure. We are also providing cellular backhaul. This means connecting cell towers with our satellites. So coming back to the sustainability, by doing that, we can, let's say, prevent the deployment of some terrestrial networks that may be, let's say, more kind of damaging to the Earth. So yeah, we are not really going to the mass market like residential internet and so on. We are going to very, very high-end services.
So it sounds to me like a very niche offering that you're putting in the market with a very high quality service in mind.
That's right. Today, well, the constellation will be launched by mid-27, end of 27. So we're still, let's say, in some sort of early stage, but we've signed MOUs with potential customers for over $600 million, which is, to me, quite impressive figure today. And we have customers from all over the world targeting very, very different use cases, all of them kind of premium services with, let's say, quite demanding SLA that maybe other constellations are not committing to today. So yeah, we are happy with the model we are following. As I said before, if you have to pay it back within 5 years' time, you better focus on the high-end value.
Absolutely. Well, we are almost at the end of our interview. Time is flying.
Wow.
And I wanted to ask you the same question I ask all of our guests at this point, which is about BeetleSat in particular. The company might be still a bit too young, but we always like to get to know if there's any habit, any tradition, or any funny anecdotes that you guys have had so far to share with our audience, because it's a bit more relatable.
Well, as you said, the company is quite new, so we maybe didn't have the chance to build up strong traditions yet. Everything will come. But what I think from what I like from BeetleSat is to be able to be part of a global project. So the company is young, but we have already footprint in the US, in Israel, in Spain. We're working with companies all over the world. Any flavor of company you may imagine, ranging from very high-tech startup companies up to traditional GeoSatcom operators. So being able to build up this global project, it's something which is really rich to us. It's very, very, very powerful project that we are building up here, and makes us happy to be working in this huge and challenging puzzle that we are trying to build up. Yeah.
Fantastic. We remain with that last message of big collaboration across different countries and the spirit to actually make a very challenging project come alive. Thank you so much, Ferran, for your time and for explaining such an interesting story behind BeetleSat. And we're certainly looking forward to the next steps and see you around in the space industry very soon. Take care.
Thank you, Andres. It was my pleasure, and see you soon. Yeah, bye-bye.